All right, what is going on, everybody? I hope you're all doing well, and thanks as always for watching. Today, we are checking out the LPD Limited SUPERNODE Dual Overdrive. As the title would suggest, it is a dual overdrive. One side is an ODR style circuit, very familiar circuit, especially for us players here in Nashville. The other side is called the 74DG. That side of the pedal is based on the LPD 74 Deluxe pedal, the green channel. On that green channel, there's a voicing switch. In the down position, it cuts a little bit of low mid and some gain. That's how this channel is voiced. So that's what's going on as far as the two channels. There's quite a bit going on as far as how these can be routed, and I'm going to get into all of that, but let's just do this. I'm going to go through what's on top of the pedal, okay? So on the right side, the ODR side, you have a level, drive, bass, and spectrum control. We'll get into how those sound in the demo. There is an internal potentiometer, a mini potentiometer that allows you to adjust the saturation, which is a really nice feature. I didn't touch it. I left it stock the way it was, and I thought that would work great. But yeah, you can go in there and actually increase the saturation, so it'll kind of change how the pedal feels. On the left side of the pedal, you've got a level, drive, treble, and bass, and we'll definitely get into how those sound. That side of the pedal also has an internal mini potentiometer that allows you to adjust mids. And I actually left that alone as well. I thought it sounded great, but you can crank mids up or down. According to Lawrence, both of the mini potentiometers are set to noon. So you can go in there and tweak away and personalize the pedal to your needs, which I always think is really cool. You have a switch in the center of the pedal that allows you to choose how the pedal's routed. So it's a three-way switch. If you throw that switch to the left, it actually will run the right side of the pedal into the left side of the pedal. That's why it says RL. If you put the switch in the center, it's going to run the left side of the pedal into the right side of the pedal. That's why it's LR. If you throw it all the way to the right, it's parallel. And we'll get into how all of that sounds. There is a really cool switching feature on this pedal. You can program this so that if you just want to turn one side on and off and the other side on and off, and then, use the two together, you can. That's how it comes in its stock form. But you can also program this so that it toggles between the two sides. If you just know you're not going to ever use the two sides together and you want to bang back and forth, you can make it so it'll toggle really quickly by just stepping on one switch or the other. There's another mode, another way you can program it. If you know you love having both sides on all the time, you can program it so if you step on either switch, you can have those sides turn on at the same time. So it's a really nice switching option. You do that basically, it's a power mode. You know, you power up holding down a switch, and then you can go through and pick how you want this thing to switch. Like I said, really nice feature. Ins and outs are on the top of the pedal. You know what? Let's check this thing out. It is the LPD Limited SUPERNODE Dual Overdrive. All right, let's check this thing out. Here's the guitar into the amp. And here is the SUPERNODE. Okay, cool. So just to give you some ideas, started off on the ODR side. To me, it's really dynamic. Both sides are actually really clear, especially when I'm playing those, those slash chords. I wasn't struggling for note clarity. It didn't kind of turn into mush. So, both sides, in my opinion, are awfully clear. But yeah, the ODR side, very dynamic, not obviously super high gain, but that's the whole point of having like an ODR side and then, the 74 side, which, does have quite a bit more gain, but I wouldn't say it's like super saturated either. It's when you use the two together is when it sounds really great, when you can get that amount of saturation. So let's do this. I'm just going to start on the ODR side, and I'm just going to turn the controls. So we'll start with drive. So here's drive off. can almost use it as like an always on, like a tone enhancer at this point. So I just switched to a neck position and turned it down just to see how it cleans up. So it's a decent amount of gain that you can get out of it. But once again, I wouldn't consider it like high gain. It feels like maybe it has a little bit more saturation than like a typical ODR circuit, but that's what's going on there. You did see me turn the bass down. As I turned the drive all the way up, I immediately reached to just essentially shut the bass off. But with that in mind, let's listen to the bass. So here's off. Halfway up. All the way up. Yeah, so that gets massive. I liked it about in this area. Pretty spread out, and obviously, you know, the spectrum control is going to, you know, play into how you dial the lows, but that's what's going on there. Let's do the spectrum control, speaking of. So a lot of range, obviously, with that spectrum control. I rolled the bass into it as I rolled higher with treble and what have you, but that's how that sounds. Just depends on what guitar you're using, what amp you're running into, but that's that side of the pedal. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off, and let's look at the 74 side. I think I'll start with drive, and then we'll go from there. Very Marshall. Okay, so there's drive off. So obviously, you know, the 74 thing is definitely the thing, if that makes any sense. Quite a bit, it feels more saturated. I feel like I'm hearing more kind of harmonic saturation, but obviously that's what should be happening on this side of the pedal. So that's what's going on there. It does clean up pretty well. I'm going to leave it, let's leave it about right, I don't know, maybe right here. Let's check out the treble. So even with the treble all the way off, there's still quite a bit of clarity there. It's a very British top end for sure. I'm going to leave the treble, let's leave it about there, and let's listen to the bass. Even all the way dimed, it doesn't get super loose or really overwhelming. Same thing applies here. You know, if you're going to run your gain all the way up, especially on a Marshall, first thing you're going to want to reach for is the bass control. So in this case, maybe about right there. So that's what's going on with this side of the pedal. Now let's listen to the sides combined. So I'm going to quickly maybe dial this side up, the ODR side, with a little bit less gain, maybe about right there. Right now I'm going slightly above unity. Both of these channels, you can hit the amp really hard. But what's interesting is I shouldn't say you can hit the amp really hard. You can definitely push more into the amp, but as you do start pushing this level, you can get more gain without like a ton more volume. So that's something to keep in mind on both sides as far as the outputs of the channels. Okay, so I'm going to leave that about right there, and let's see, maybe turn the gain down on this, and let's see how this sounds together. Now, the way I have the switch is in the center, so it's going essentially left to right. So 74 to ODR. I'll just turn it on, we'll get it dialed, and then I'll just throw that switch so you can hear the differences in the routing. So left to right, we're going from this channel to this channel. Now what I'm going to do is just throw the switch. Now we're going right to left. So now ODR into. So with the switch right to left, to me, I don't like it as much. I mean, that's just my opinion. I prefer the left to right. And honestly, I didn't think I would. I would think I always want an ODR to push into something else. But that's the difference there. This side to this side, to me, it does sound great, but there's more lows and a little bit more just dynamic. Just a little more gratifying. Now you can also run the two circuits in parallel. So here's parallel. So in that case, it's because they're not running into each other, you're not creating more saturation or gain. So it's a different tonality, and you would dial it differently for that, but that actually sounds really cool. So right to left. Left to right. Parallel. Okay, that is the LPD SUPERNODE Dual Overdrive. Thanks so much for watching. If you've got any other questions, go to the website and check it out, and I will see you next time.